Nye McGee here with EUR Web. Thank you, sir, for giving me your time today to speak
Absolutely.
about this
Thanks for having me.
very exciting police drama series on call. And of course, you, sir, you're a Renaissance man on this series. You're acting, executive producer, you directed many of the episodes. How did this, multifaceted involvement influence your approach to the series?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's an evolution. So you don't just, you know, jump into it. I mean, I've been directing. I started directing shorts back in the 90s. I made my directorial debut on HBO, a film called Rebound with Don Cheadle and James Earl Jones. And so that was, back in the day. And so it's always been this goal to I just think particularly I think as artists, I think particularly as artists of color and women, is that have to you don't have the luxury of just doing one thing. I think if you're smart, you understand that the more you do, the more power you ultimately have. When I say power, I don't mean it from an egotistical point of view. I mean the power of choice. And so layering all these things of, I started acting at 14 years old. So I've been acting all my life. That allowed me to transition into a director. That allowed me to then transition into an executive producer. Uh, and so, then all of a sudden you have a project. And then I started training even then of doing all, because when you're doing short films, of course, you have to do it all. So when the opportunity came about, I felt ready for the moment. And so, my mentality has always been to be ready, don't get ready. Sort of get ready in the spring for winter. Don't get ready for winter in winter. So and so it was a wonderful, by the time this wonderful opportunity presented itself, I was ready, and it sort of morphed into what it was. They came to me and asked me if I would look at directing. I've been working with the Wolf Camp for several years, and they were the first to make me an executive producer, Chicago PD, which I ran for about 4 years. So I was like, so those two parts came together, and then the acting part of it came later, because I initially was not going to be in it. I had actually wanted to cast uh, Michael Beach, who is a wonderful actor who happens to be my best friend as well. We couldn't do the deal in time. He was offered a big project on Netflix, so we lost him. And then in the scramble, at some point, I wasn't happy with none of us were really blown away by the actors that we were seeing. And so then I just said, hey guys, I'll do it. So I think people were kind of like, oh wow, like, and then we did it from there. And I and my reasons even then were, I mean, I love the script, love the project. But even then, my one of the reasons that I thought it would be a good idea was because originally, before the writer's strike, this show was supposed to have come out a while ago, and it would have timed with I was getting ready to release my third novel. And so I thought having a novel come out, having a show come out all around the same time, I thought, man makes plans, God laughs. So it didn't quite work out. So the book came out, and now they're separate. But I'm happy and proud. So that's kind of how I arrived, where I arrived, and love the character, and love being able to do all of these aspects of it.
Now, thank you for sharing all that. Of course, you mentioned, because I have a motto too. It's stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Kind of
Mhm.
like what you just said. Now, part of getting ready for this series, you participated in several ride-alongs with law enforcement, right? So what
Yes.
did you learn from those experiences, and how did they shape the authenticity of the show?
Well, that was pretty much. I wouldn't necessarily even say it was a requirement. Everyone did it, and everyone. The great thing about our cast, again, you didn't have to require them to do anything. You said, "Hey guys, this is available to you." Everyone leaped at it. Obviously myself and included. And I'd done a ride along before, but this was, we went to Long Beach, and I rode, I did my ride along with this badass woman. And, they do, I think we did like a 10-hour shift. And there were so many calls in that 10-hour shift that by the end of the day, I forgot some of the things that we did. And some were super small, some were medium, some were big, guns drawn. I mean, like, I had like the gamut. And so it changes or it helps to inform your point of view, because it shows the highs, lows, the ups and downs. And I don't pretend to that we got the full essence of what being a cop is by doing a couple of ride-alongs. I'm by no means saying that, but what it did allow us to do, I think, unassailably, was to at least get a glimpse into the difficulty of this world. Again, this show is neither pro cop or anti cop. We're not trying to make any statements. We're not trying to make any stands, and we're not trying to glorify cops, and we're not trying to demonize cops. We're just telling stories. People can take what they will from there. Uh, but what I walked away from, what I walked away with from that situation was understanding just simply how difficult it is and how impactful, good or bad. And we went on one call, and after dealing with a lot of different things, we went on one call where a toddler had escaped. He was staying with his grandmother, and he just took off, and he's walking around the neighborhood. So this kid is lost, and so we find him, and this female cop, she picks him up. We return him to the grandmother, and it's been a very stressful situation, as you can imagine. And it just felt good. It felt like, here's this kid that who knows what could have happened to, and so him, and so we did that. And so she hands the toddler back to the grandmother, and we're walking back to the car. And I'm like, wow, I said, that must feel good. And so she goes, yeah, it does, but I'm covered in pee. I got to go back to the station and change because I'm at Peter. And it's just like this funny light moment in the midst of something either great or something bad. You know what I mean? This one happened to be good. So it gives you a little insight into the day and the life of. That's all. We don't, like I said, we don't have the whole thing good or bad, but we get these glimpses, and these glimpses help inform our accuracy in trying to depict these men and women of law enforcement.
What do you hope On Call brings to the conversation about law enforcement and community relationships?
Well, I think just that. I think the only takeaway is that you have to understand, just as police officers have to respect their role with the community, we have to understand, and a lot of times we see it from a certain point of view, and I think definitely people of color have a very storied history with how cops come into our communities and treat us, et cetera. I think the one thing that we do with this story, and again, not pushing any agenda, but I do think the one thing that we do in our storytelling is to show how integrated uh, community is with uh, you know the people that's charged with the responsibility of 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 protecting and policing, and it's a responsibility. And I think particularly cops need to understand that much more. I think there are many do, Um, and so again, I think that that helps the narrative. I think when the sense of responsibility is increased, I think that helps the narrative. But again, we're not trying to push a narrative. We're not trying to either way. It's just I think the thing with art is I can't tell you how to look at a piece of visual art. I can't tell you how that feels to you. I can't tell you that that piece of art should remind you of home, or remind you of your mother's cooking, or remind you of your first kiss, or I can't tell you that. You look at a piece of art and you determine for yourself based on your history. And so I think our responsibility here as storytellers is simply to present a balanced viewpoint of a subject and let let the viewer decide what their takeaway is.
Absolutely. Now, of course, the show also uses a very innovative approach to the storytelling through body cam, dash cam, cell phone footage. How does all of this kind of contribute to the adrenalized style of this series?
Well, I mean, the point is to make it feel somewhat more interactive. So based on what we just said, I think the more we can put the audience there to be the quote unquote fly on the wall, or in this case, the fly in the cruiser, um, that you're getting a different point of view. I think sometimes we have opinions about things, good or bad, that we don't really know. And I think obviously social media now, I think is a major culprit because how many times have we all forwarded something only to find out that it wasn't even real. You know what I mean? And we do it. I do it. You know what I mean? Like you send something to your friend and someone sends you back something. And so actually that didn't happen. And then you look it up. But that's the instinct. We form an opinion without fact. And so the innovative style of what we do cinematically is meant to draw the viewer in more closely so that they're seeing things in real time and in these situations and having a sense of history because sometimes a person is coming from a personal situation that helps color this professional situation. And again, I'm not condoning anything. I'm just simply saying that's just human nature. So I think now that you have a sense of what this person is dealing, good and the bad guys, the good guys, whatever, the more you have a sense of who they are and what they're going through, I just think it helps to lead you to a more informed opinion. That's it. And so by putting you right there and not letting you be detached from storytelling, which a lot of television allows you to do, this makes you lean forward a little more, and in that lean forward, I think you absorb a little bit more truth and balance and perspective informing your opinion.
Absolutely. So, are you a social media guy? Are you going to go online when the series drops, kind of search for hashtags related to the show to see what viewers have to say about the series, your work on the series? How important is social media to you in kind of gauging the response to your work?
Well, I'm like my character in the show. I'm a little old school. I just I think that a lot of times actors now are becoming, I think detrimentally so, imprisoned by social media. I think people are afraid to actors are afraid to be bold and make choices. Oh, they might not like me for this. When I did Dr. Benton in ER, back in '96, I was like, I didn't care what anyone thought. I just wanted to be true to who this character was. I think if social media had been around the way that it is now, would that have, oh my God, they're talking about me, they this, they that. I think the purest form of art is to not be encumbered by such things. Now, as a producer of the show, you want to just know the general sense of how the show is being perceived. but there are conversations again people start having that's not fully informed. So why would I let that dictate my opinion about the work and about the semantics of the show? Um, and because a lot of times it digresses into this negativity. Now, if you want to have a constructive conversation, absolutely. I'm all for that. If I want, oh, I feel this, this felt authentic. This didn't feel authentic. This is why, as opposed to just, spewing hate or anger because now you have a platform, you have power. I'm not that Mr. Social Media guy at all. So I can't tell you. I mean, obviously I'll be aware of the what's out there in the ether, but and what's in the zeitgeist. But in general, I don't let that dictate personally what what I feel my approach to being an artist is, and I'm actually sometimes saddened by how much power it has over the choices because actors start making safer choices, and so you're not serving the character, you're not serving the project, you're serving your social media following, and I think that's a dangerous slope for us to slide down.
I agree. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your perspective on that. Well, Mr. Eriq La Salle, it's been a great conversation. I will not hold you up any further, sir. Thank you for speaking with me
Pleasure.
today. And of course, I'm looking forward to sharing this conversation with my readers. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you very much. It's truly a pleasure.